I've been listening to some different takes on it, and I know, like I'm a stan for Chris Sims, one of my favorite analysts in the NFL, and he's been getting dragged for continuing to defend Zach Wilson amid this. I guess let's just like quickly take
Mhm.
an opportunity to touch on this because I know you might disagree, but Justin Fields was playing horribly at the beginning of the year. Like, what was he, completing 40% of his passes? They were scared to throw the ball downfield, but he got a long leash. It's year two, same draft class, and now he's playing great. I mean, he's injured now, but Trevor Lawrence, a little different, but he's had some bad games as well, but you don't hear about it because it's not the New York media market. Um, and he's
And
now
some of them were sort of like a not in the sense of like a guy doesn't always have like a four fumble game, for example, like Lawrence did. That was like that doesn't really map onto like a person's like whole season usually. Um,
And so,
but
but point being is they got long leashes and it's paid off.
yeah, no, no. But I
And
think I'm wondering. My question to you though is, I'm curious what you like. I'm wondering. It's hard for me to compare. It's hard for me to like think back, but like I'm wondering who was better between like Fields pre him pre the play that he's had. So I guess like the beginning of the season and last season relative to Zach Wilson's
but it's
pre
a different situation because
both bad offenses
but
though.
Justin Field no I mean I don't know like Justin Fields is not is they're asking him to there's no expectations this year. They're one of the worst teams in the league. They're asking him to just go balls to the wall at this point and figure it out. Zach Wilson's playing with the defensive head coach that wants him to kind of take care of the ball and and play through the defense. I just think it's a different situation and
But I
um
guess I would argue though that Fields is playing better with worse weapons.
He's of course playing better. Fields and Lawrence, there's no question about that. There's no question. I don't know if Fields was playing better earlier in the year than what Zach Wilson was doing against one of the three best defenses in the
He has
NFL.
the defenses I agree with though because he has played the pre even the well I mean including the Patriots games. But I'm saying he's played like a few of the best defenses,
Yeah.
but in the league. But even for example, like there was a game or two where he basically didn't even throw for 200 yards. He was just not making the back-breaking mistakes that he had been against the Patriots twice.
But what I feel is concerning about the way the Jets are handling this is that this should have been a get right game for him. That's what we've been saying
Oh
against the
yeah,
Chicago Bears.
that had nobody on defense.
And now there's
Also,
no way that they're going to start him again this year. I
yeah.
feel that way. I mean, Mike White is going to put up good numbers against this Vikings defense, which is bad. But do I think they'll win the game? We'll see in our
Hmm.
locks. But there must be something really going on in the locker room. I think that's
Yeah.
part of it. I think they're trying to teach him a lesson. At the same time, though, how it got to this point where maybe there was discontent in the locker room, I feel like that's on Robert Saleh. I think he is a little bit overwhelmed by the insane New York media that's going to be way more on you for losing than it is in Jacksonville or even in Chicago where there's no expectations, where he feels the pressure to win now, whether it's from ownership, whether it's from the New York media, and he should have like handled all of this in the locker room. Like Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore talking shit about Zach Wilson, that should have been squashed. Zach Wilson being a brat, that should have been squashed. And I feel like the he's letting too many other people run the show from the outside and from inside the locker room where it's like he should have been the guy to say no, I'm going to stick by my guy. We invested in this person. It's not like Saleh and Joe Douglas came in and Zach Wilson was already the pick, which is the case with Justin Fields with this new regime. They picked this guy, believe in him, build around him, and maybe teach him a lesson, I guess. But I don't know what's the plan. Like you're gonna
Well,
go
so
with
I
Mike
think it's
White. Mike White, he started against the Bengals last year, and then a few games later, he was throwing a million interceptions,
no,
and
no,
got benched again. He's not that good, and I don't
no,
believe in quarterback
oh my God,
rating.
no, 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 no,
Enough
no.
with that crap.
I'm really not. I don't actually like. There's no serious person who thinks that there's a higher ceiling for like a guy like Mike White. He's a very serviceable backup. And he has no ability to throw like more than like 25 yards down the field. He's fine footwork and he's accurate, which is like which I think probably is what they're looking for, because that's something that Zach Wilson has not been for the, and those have been the two traits or tendencies that have actually probably been the most frustrating thing to watch about him, or for coaches that have coached him, I imagine, is just the fundamentals don't look sound, and they still don't look sound. However, I do see what you're saying, because I think it's a struggle between two things. It's a struggle for Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh to not want to give up on their most marquee draft choice, the highest draft choice they had, the quarterback to the young quarterback that would ideally and hopefully lead their franchise under their regime as coach and GM. And so it's the tension between the optics of that, but also the optics of him, A, playing poorly, B, playing poorly with a roster they spent a large sum of money on and a large sum of draft capital on, where he is very clearly the weak link. It's not the running backs. It's not even the offensive line as much, even though they're quite injured. It's not the secondary. It's not the pass rush. It's him.
Right, but you gotta have the big picture in mind. Like, if he's your if you drafted him to be the franchise guy, you let him go through growing pains.
But what they did in the offseason, definitely, and what they did in the offseason and the success that they've had have certainly sped up their timeline. And if he's the person playing poorly...
But the same thing is happening with the Giants. You don't let short-term success get in the way of your long-term goal.
But the Giants did not nearly spend as much on their team as the Jets did. And they did not they're not getting offensive rookie of the year play from somebody before he got injured, and defensive rookie of the year play from their cornerback.
I mean, but the point is that it would be a different situation though if they were losing with Zach Wilson. They went 5-2 with him.
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard for me to watch those games and not think I don't think of those 7 games. In any of those games, he was particularly the reason that they won.
That doesn't matter, though, when you're developing your quarterback at the same time. But then he's Jimmy Garoppolo. Fine, but he's not going to be that if you actually foster the development in a way.
But basically, the 49ers have had a lot of success with a mediocre quarterback that they've gone to conference finals and Super Bowls with, and he's most likely the reason why they can't get over the hump to actually.
But Jimmy Garoppolo is a known commodity. Zach Wilson's a baby, and you draft him and you develop him. And Mike White is more Jimmy Garoppolo. That's what the limitations of your team are going to be if you guys stick with that kind of person. What's the investment? Your sunk costs now with Zach.
No. I'm only saying this to think that. I'm not even saying this to say that I don't want Zach to start, or I think Mike White is a better option. I don't. But I think this is a move from Saleh and Joe Douglas that they are feeling the pressure that he's not panning out.
I agree.
When they thought that he should be.
I agree.
But
good organizations don't do that shit. Like the Giants, the Giants have been hearing for years how Daniel Jones sucks, right?
And they did not feel. And he's also probably a nicer person, or like a better.
Well,
guy.
He's a way harder worker, and like he also has like size and traits where it's like, okay, you can work with that. Coaches like that.
And also I'm sure he just probably wouldn't even put himself in a position to have one word when he just said no become like a media firestorm. You know what I mean?
He's been like, he's Johnny Professional.
So I think what I'm trying to say is I certainly haven't given up on Zach. I'm just thinking that what Saleh and Douglas are probably thinking is we've arrived a little bit ahead of schedule with some groups. We have a better record than we thought we were going to come into week 13, and people have expectations of us. We spent a lot of money, and our marquee draft choice is not where other people are on the team. And he's also becoming a PR problem.
It's year 2. Well, PR problems in New York, it's always going to be that way. With this
I just
market.
think it's so much
but it's
more
year
optics
2.
based.
It's year 2. I know. Then we're in agreement. But I don't think that's the right way to run your organization.
And of course, and also, if they were playing the Chiefs, like sure, bench Zach Wilson so he doesn't get destroyed again, maybe, or something like that, or if they're playing the Bills, lead Mike White to slaughter, so to speak. I mean, I don't think it's a huge deal for him, but I see what you're saying in the sense they were playing against Trevor Siemian and a Bears defense that lost Eddie Jackson during the game.
Yeah,
they're already threadbare defense, lost
probably the worst defense in the NFL right now. So besides maybe the Raiders.
So if Zach Wilson was going to have a chance to do anything, I think it would have been that game. But I don't think, but I don't think that the certain problems that would probably exist regardless of whether he continued to start or
Yeah.
not, in the sense of the fundamentals still just like simply have to be better for him to be a good quarterback. His floor has to raise. I know what he can do on it. I know he's fast. I know he has a good arm. I know he can play out of structure, but he can't force things out of structure.
Mm-hmm.
And also I understand. And listen, I like you said, Elijah Moore is not a Pro Bowler. I understand, but
Yeah.
a part of me does understand. Like he was a first round draft pick, and he has basically no chemistry with this quarterback. And these problems, but I think these problems would exist regardless of whether he's starting or
Yeah,
not.
I mean,
Unfortunately,
it just to me, this is all stuff that Robert Saleh should be on top of with the relationships in the locker
well,
room.
yes, but of course, like I think what I'm trying to say there too is that the problem is whether Mike White continues to start or it goes back to Zach. Those problems persist regardless.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna. It's Mike White. It's not good. This is a Band-Aid on a larger issue. Like,
Yeah.
you're not. It's not going to. It's not going to improve Zach Wilson's play or his fundamentals by benching him for Mike White. It's not going to improve his relationship with Elijah Moore. That Elijah Moore is getting more touches and more reps with Mike White than he is with Zach Wilson.
You call the guys in and you say, "Hey, let's hash this out. Stop litigating this in the media, guys. Stop liking these tweets. Zach's our guy.
Yeah.
We
Like,
rally
there's
around our
clearly some
second
discord.
overall pick, and he's been winning for us. I've been told all the time." All football players care about is wins. I've been told all the time that wins are quarterback stats. Wins are quarterback stats, right? Well, and I think that's bullshit. But at the same time, like, it's a balancing act. You've invested in this quarterback. He's winning. You're winning with him. Keep it up because he'll find a groove in these past two games. I know they would have won with Zach Wilson against the Bears with Trevor Siemian.
A part of me also does wonder what Mike LaFleur's like role in this is.
Yeah, why aren't they developing this kid more? Like, it's just I don't know.
Because I also don't think Elijah Moore's discontent was only with Zach Wilson. I think it was also with LaFleur, which was part of the reason why he didn't show up to practice for a few days as well. So I think it's not just
Elijah Moore, like talking. He hasn't proved anything. Like, it's one thing if the guy is, like, again, as you say, a Pro Bowler. Let's give it a rest here, Elijah Moore. He hasn't proved anything.
Well, I think they have to. I think, like, I understand his frustration, but there's ways to deal with that where you're not putting it out in the open like that. And I see the same thing with the Knicks. It's like it's in the sense of, like, you know, Mitchell Robinson is tweeting like, I'm not getting enough playing time. It's just like which I know is like smaller stakes, but at the same time,
But it's not
just,
against your own teammates.
Right.
That's where I don't like it.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying is just like the hard thing is you see better teams that just don't hang out their dirty laundry like this. And I think it will only lead to further discord between the guy who probably at some point will be the start. Because Mike White is not the answer. Unless they unless they give up on Zach Wilson, try to get a veteran, that's a different story. But that's not the here and now. That's a question for the offseason. Like,
after year 2, they're gonna give up on a guy who got injured both years and also got injured in the preseason and didn't get practice reps until like later in when did he come back? Week 4, week 5?
How bad? But I guess I'm curious to
this is bad. The more I sit with this, the more I feel this is like really a bad decision. But
my question is how bad? How long does he have to be bad before you think he shouldn't get a chance?
You at least till year 3, especially if you're winning with him. Winning is supposed to cure all. Then he can get into more of a groove. I just, the more I sit with this, the more I feel like Saleh totally fucked this up.
Well, also imagine too. It's not as if that Pats loss brought them under 500, for example. You know what I mean? It's not as if they're fully out of the playoff picture as a result. I mean, the tiebreak is tough with the Patriots, obviously, for the wild card or whatever the case may be, but. It's not as if it dropped them to 8 and 9, 7 and 8 or like So I see I think there are a lot of layers, and I think from a more competent / less pressurized environment that these things wouldn't happen. But I think I do sort of feel like with all of this, Saleh and Douglas feel a little bit of wind at their backs of like we have to figure something else, or at least look like we're making a change. And also it's the Johnson family.
Right.
I mean, it's you have to wonder what they think. About
I
all
agree.
this,
I
too.
agree. But I don't necessarily think it's great team building or philosophy. So.